Hello and good morning. My name's Amanda, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the Missouri Poison Center. And today we're going to be talking about winter plants. You may think, well, it's very cold outside here in Missouri, and there must not be any greenery out there, but there are some plants, both indoor and outdoor, that we use to celebrate the holidays and the winter season. I will tell you, this is not a primer on plants or how to care for plants or grow plants because I truly do not have a green thumb. This is more about an overview and some of the risks of these plants if they are swallowed or exposed on your skin. So first, I just want to share with you that there is a QR code on the top of the screen here, and that will get you to our materials page where you can order our toxic and non-toxic plant brochure, as well as many other items that are free for residents of Missouri. You go there and just pick out what you like, both for yourself or if you have a community or educational group that you want to share some items with, feel free to go there through the QR code. All right, so let's get started. We're going to first talk about one of the most common plants we might see around the holidays, which is holly. This is a cultivated evergreen tree. It has soft, round, red, shiny berries with these pointed leaves. And those leaves, of course, can cause injury or even damage if a child or somebody were to chew on the leaf itself or handle the leaf. And this genus species has over 57 species in this plant family. This is the most common view here. And holly is often used in wreaths and garlands and table centerpieces. And if swallowed, it can cause a lot of GI or stomach upsets, such as nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. All right, our next plant that we may have in our homes this season is the poinsettia or poinsettia. It has broad, soft leaves, which are usually red but can be both pink or white. It's indigenous to Mexico and Central America. It actually grows native there. And people assume that it's very toxic because there have been, reports of this over the years, but it is a very low risk in terms of its toxicity. Estimates show that a toxic amount would be more than 500 leaves of this plant. So a small taste or a nibble by a child is not a serious concern. And there was research back, it's old research, but research back in the 90s of more than 20,000 calls to poison centers across the country. There were no fatalities, and in almost 93% of cases, there was actually no effect from exposure. And those who did have some effect were minorly bothersome, such as nausea, vomiting. So, not as toxic as once thought, but definitely a common plant in our homes this holiday season. One I'm not as familiar with, but it is a beautiful plant, which is the amaryllis. And it is a large bulb that develops 1 to 2 lily like flowers on a tall green stem. And that's a good picture of it there. It blooms just in time for the holidays and has the hues of red, pink, apricot, or burgundy. So, those beautiful tones for the holiday season. It does as well cause nausea, vomiting, or upset stomach. And the bulb itself is the most toxic part of the plant. And like other bulbs, we can see some confusion for them, as in like onions or other ground foods like that. And so we do want to make sure that they're put away out of sight and reach of small children and pets. Our next plant is the American mistletoe. Now, there are other varieties of mistletoe, but this American mistletoe is a member of the Phoradendron group of plants. And this is a Greek word. Also, the Greek word is called I'm not going to say it in Greek, but it translates to tree thief because it's a plant that grows on trees and not on bushes or shrubs and it almost acts like a parasite, and it kind of grows within the tree, and it's high on the tree, and it's imported commercially. And of course, it has its history through Christmas decor and traditions like kissing under the mistletoe and you'll be blessed with love this holiday season. And it has waxy white berries, in clusters on thick green stems. Now, there is some history with mistletoe. However, most of the poisonings that we have heard about with mistletoe is the European variety, and it's more so when it was used in herbal preparations and teas. And so by fault, many assume the American mistletoe is toxic as well, again, just causing minor nausea or vomiting, upset stomach. Another holiday plant is the Jerusalem cherry, and its green leaves and red berries resemble small cherry tomatoes. And so all parts of this plant contain solanine, which is in the nightshade family. And this can, of course, cause some irritating and bitter taste, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and more significant symptoms in larger amounts, not just taste or mouthful amounts. Although it's not as toxic as it was originally feared, but you can see how easily one could mistake this for an edible tomato or something if not familiar with it. Our next plant is the Christmas rose. This is an evergreen perennial flowering plant. It's in the buttercup family, and it has leathery green leaves with flowers that are white and have a blush of pink tone to them, and the flowers appear in the winter, even in the snow. And so small amounts can cause mouth irritation, throat tingling, and drooling, as well as upset stomach. And touching this plant can cause a rash that can be quite irritating and itchy. Larger ingestions, which we wouldn't expect from accidental type of exposures, can cause confusions and seizures and difficulty breathing. So a more serious concern and much larger than single ingestions. All right, let's keep looking here. Christmas cactus. This Christmas cactus doesn't have pointy needles like other cactuses, but it does have colorful blooms that bloom once a year. And it's vibrant blooms during the winter with shades of red, pink, white, and purple. And these are like flattened leaves that are slightly serrated on each side. With this type of exposure, we wouldn't expect more than minor upset stomach type symptoms. There are others that are similar, including the Thanksgiving cactus, the Easter cactus, and the difference is in the shape of the leaves. And they're often mislabeled at garden centers, so you may never know exactly what you have unless you're very, educated on the type of leaves that it is as well. Looks like we have a comment, and I'm going to post that. This person says, last year my amaryllis grew beautifully and then it died down. I took the bulbs out of the soil and nothing, no blooms at all. What happened? That is a great question. And, it is one that I really don't know the answer to. It could be a number of different things. It's certainly nice to see that it bloomed, but sad that it didn't come back. So I'm sorry that happened. I would maybe reach out to your local garden center or florist to see if they have any answers to that. But thanks for your comment. All right. And last but not least, many of us do have evergreen trees in our homes right now, such as a pine, spruce, or fir Christmas tree, or with garland and wreaths. It's a plant where the foliage remains green and functional all year, hence the name evergreen. And the pine oil that is within these types of trees can cause irritation to the skin when handling. Of course, we know that it can be a little sticky and sappy and can be irritating as well. The needles itself can be pointy and cause skin puncture when grabbed by a child or, kind of that sharp grip, and we can see some minor injury to the mouth. Now, do people also use, when they have their Christmas tree up, they often will use things to preserve the tree, such as home remedies of lemon lime soda, sugar, bleach, aspirin, all these different things that they add to the water. And so there is always a risk to those types of liquids when they are added to for small children and pets. So it is important to be careful when you use those additive preservation solutions. If a child or a pet gets into them, just reach out to the Poison Center. So in general, some plant safety in and out of your home. Don't assume a plant is safe because birds or other animals eat it. There's different tolerances based on species, and humans may not react in the same way that other animals or pets do. Never eat any part of an unknown plant or mushroom, and talk about plant safety with your children, that no leaves, stems, bark, seeds, or berries should be placed in the mouth. And you want to store those plants and bulbs away from food items, as it was with the amaryllis bulb that we were talking about, looked a lot like an onion. So there's no accidental mix-ups. And now most of these plants are kind of indoor seasonal plants. If we have outdoor plants or are using pesticides or chemicals, make sure they're in their original containers. And make sure you get into the habit of putting the cap back on securely and safely, and put these things out of reach of children. And then always with plants, we do get some skin exposures as well. So if there is some oil or sap or other parts of the plant that is on your skin or clothing, make sure that you wash your clothing and launder it separately, as well as wash any exposed skin with soap and water immediately to get that off and away from your skin. Of course, the holidays are coming up, and it is important to have the Poison Helpline saved in your phone. We are at 1-800-222-1222, and that is a national toll-free number that you can reach your local Poison Center. It is here in Missouri as well as nationally throughout the United States. That number again is 1-800-222-1222. And feel free to save it ahead of time. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on each and every holiday, and our specially trained nurses and pharmacists would be happy to help you if there is a plant or other exposure to you or your loved ones this holiday season. And lastly, take a moment to scan that QR code, and you can look at our materials page and order some of our free resources, such as the toxic and non-toxic plant brochure I was mentioning at the beginning. So happy holidays, everyone, and have a great and wonderful, peaceful new year.